Greetings, it is I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion on Werewolf the Apocalypse and the World of Darkness. I was talking about some aspects of the world of Werewolf, talking about the enemies that they may face, the servants of the Wyrm. I'll finish up the servants of the Wyrm, finish up talking about Antagonists, and effectively finish up the majority of what I want to talk about when it comes to the setting in Werewolf. So let's talk about the last antagonist from, of course, the Wyrm, the Fomori. Now in the battle against the Garou, the Wyrm needs foot soldiers. They can summon horrors out of nothing and breed banes, but those take a lot of energy. It is much easier to corrupt the children of the Gaia, the creatures of Gaia to their will, to change them into their warriors for them. And they do this in many ways. They can, of course, expose creatures to mutagen and balefire to change it. They can trick it into drinking worm-tainted liquids or drugs that it can ingest into it. Or it can even promise them power, corrupt them with that promise of strength and power to their side. In the past, the Wyrm would corrupt anything, any walk of creature, of animal, of being that walked upon the earth in this way, to become its servants. In this modern area, it prefers man. And these creatures that it corrupts and changes are called the Fomori. They are specifically designed to fight Garou. Now a single Fomori versus a single Garou, the most likely the Garou will win. But Fomori travel in packs. And that can easily overcome a werewolf. The Wyrm gives many gifts: strength, better bodies, things that make it better to fight Garou. But the Fomori, in turn, have basically sold their souls to it. They corrupt both their souls and bodies, changing into monsters in order to be able to fight them. Many Fomori lose all sense of self, all sentience, and became basically mindless killing servants. A few, though, retain their sentience, and mostly retain their human forms. They can be useful servants in of themselves. Pentex has been known to expose portions of their workers, their employees, and change them into Fomori, and find other uses for them then instead. Now let's talk about the other antagonists that the werewolf may face. Let's start, of course, against hunters. A werewolf hunter is indeed a rare thing, because a successful hunter where it's a werewolf, that's hard to do. Most hunters are just humans. And being successful in a battle against a werewolf, it's insane. Of course, these people are usually bested. Maybe they lost a loved one's life to a werewolf. Something occurred. Regardless of the result, they've resisted delirium. Delirium makes most humans forget about werewolves. They either would have had to have been kindred, effectively have been descended of werewolves, or they will have to have an incredibly strong will, and a will of iron to resist what what delirium will do to you. And because of that, they can then, of course, understand what a werewolf are. Hunts against them, you need the right tools, and even having silver does not guarantee success. There are very few successful hunters. Very few. Developmental Neogenic Amalgamated is a powerful corporation that studies, of course, things such as DNA, genetics. They are masters of science in the cutting fields of these developments. But they have a darker side to them, as they have secretly engaged in human experimentation in order to learn their knowledge. And, of course, you say to yourself, why does this involve Garou? This shouldn't. They don't directly. But in more recent years, they managed to capture a Garou alive and experimented on it, eventually vivisected it, dissected it, learned everything they could about it, and they were fascinated by these creatures. They think them mutations that are the sources of these werewolf mists, not in a separate breeding of themselves. They've begun to understand their transformations, their genetics, things about them. And in the course of their investigation, they have managed to kill and capture a few others, continuing to whet their appetite. These people, they are dangerous. They carry powerful technology and have developed special nerve toxins made to knock out Garou. They seek to capture them alive for study, and will use any excuse to learn more about them. so they themselves have become an antagonist because of it. Now let's talk vampires. Vampires are masters of cities, and Werewolf sees them as the ultimate incarnation of the taint of the Wyrm on the world, upon Gaia. Hence, there are very few times that werewolves and vampires can actually communicate without trying to murder each other. Werewolves will send clans, groups, to hunt, basically, vampires in the city, and skin them, behead them, take what they can from them as trophies. Vampires are not as easy to kill in a direct fight, of course, yes. The average werewolf will overpower the average vampire. Majority of them are not as powerful. They're elders. That's an entire thing subject, but the younger of the vampires, they can easily be killed. But they are tricky. They use many things to their advantage to get the upper hand. Use people, use various other ways of doing it. They seek to gain the advantage so that they don't need to overcome the werewolf in a direct physical fight. Their elders, though, have other levels of dangers. They have resources far beyond, and because they live so long, live many lifetimes, they can come up with plans that last the lifetimes of Garou. It is a fool's errand to a Garou that has been manipulated by an elder vampire to doing some kind of purpose that is directly for them. But it has occurred, and it is an embarrassment to that Garou. Now, mages are seen at the best of times as kind of arrogant, contentious folks, and the worst of times threats to the Garou itself, because they will go into cairns and siphon off Gaia's energy for their various magics. So you can see there's a relationship with mages that is not probably as toxic as, let's say, the vampires, but still not great. There are groups within the mages, such as the Dream Speakers, which in fact get fairly along well with the Garou. They respect Gaia, and they will sometimes ally with the Dream Speakers, but they always sort of keep them at arm's length because they're still a mage, and they still worry that they could live up to some of their fellow mages' ways. There are tribes like the Red Talons, which specifically hunt mages. They go on hunts, just similar to vampires, for mages within cities. Mages, though, can be extra difficult because if they have time to prepare, they can set up things that are very deadly to werewolf traps. And there are those of them that manipulate umbral spirits that are not tied to the Garou, and could send them after your tribe's totem spirit. So effectively, you could cause some problems for your own tribe with messing with these mages. So there are dangers inherent to dealing with them, much the same way as dangers inherent to dealing with the vampires, especially if you're aggressive. So that's it for today. I've finished up talking about the Wyrm by introducing you to the Fomori, and talked about some of the other antagonists that you may face when you're a werewolf. This doesn't say there can't be other types of antagonists, but these are the normal ones that you might face against. Another corporation that has messed with Garou now. Hunters who hunt you down, most of which don't have any kind of special powers, but they might. Vampires, masters of the city, and of course mages who don't really have a respect for Garou the way that they probably should. All of these can form fairly powerful antagonists to your Garou. In the next time, I'm going to move and talk about the storytelling aspects of playing Werewolf the Apocalypse. If you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It should support the channel, the Empire, the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can always check out my Patreon. Link in the description below. Regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.